Hi guys, today I'm going to share with you a really fast way to make progress while learning a foreign language, and that is to create a feedback loop. Follow these 6 simple steps. Step 1. Talk to someone. If you're an advanced learner, have a difficult conversation about rocket science or politics. If you are a beginner, then have an easy conversation about how your day was or how many pets you have. But this time when you talk to someone, you're going to ask them to give you corrections and to write the corrections down in a chat box. If you're using Skype or FaceTime, this is really easy. Just write it in the message box. For example, if I'm talking to someone and they're learning English and they say to me, yesterday I go to the park. And I'm going to say, in English, we say, yesterday I went to the park. And I write it down. So I'm like the tutor in this situation. But your tutor can be a pen pal or a friend. It doesn't have to be a real tutor. Just ask someone to give you corrections and write them down. It doesn't have to be correcting every single thing you say, especially if you're a beginner. Just ask them for like 10 corrections. That would be great. Step 2. After you get the correction and get it written down, stop the conversation and ask them to make more examples like that one. So my speaking partner said, yesterday I go to the park. I corrected him, yesterday I went to the park. So my partner says, Benjamin, can you give me more examples? And I say, of course. Last week I went shopping. 3 days ago we went to the park. Last year I went on holiday with my family. And you write the examples down too. Step 3. The learner now has to make their own examples. They should already have 3 or 4 sentences now to work with, so it should be quite easy for them to come up with something. 1 or 2 or 3 examples is fine. So my partner here could try and say, on Wednesday I went to the basketball game. Perfect, good example. Step 4. After stopping the conversation and both making examples, now you can continue the conversation and just continue with this process. As I say, if you're speaking to someone for about an hour, 10 corrections maybe is good. If you're a beginner learner or you're talking to a beginner learner, be careful because remember, too many corrections can kill someone's confidence. And if you're a beginner, you're probably going to be making mistakes like every time you say everything. Step 5. Save your notes and put a date on them. Maybe put them in a Google Doc. Step 6. Spaced repetition. Spaced repetition is when you remember something once and then you remember it again maybe the next day or in a couple of days and then you remember it again a little bit further ahead in time and further. So each time you exercise what you learned, you're making a bigger and a bigger gap in time. It might be a week and then 4 weeks and then 10 weeks. So with this, I'm assuming you're talking to a pen pal, conversation partner, or maybe a tutor online or a real life teacher. Take your mistakes for your first lesson. At the beginning of the next lesson, do the same thing. Do a few more examples, so revisit what you've done. Then have your normal lesson, repeat the process. Then revisit them again at a bigger interval, maybe a week or 2 weeks, and then revisit again at a bigger interval, maybe 6 to 10 weeks. Ideally, you want to revisit and practice your mistakes a total of 3 times. So there's the first time you saw them and then 3 times after that. Maybe a day after, a week after, 6 weeks after. Something like that. So those are the 6 steps. By now you may have realized why just chatting to someone has a certain plateau in terms of progress, because if you're just chatting to someone and they're not giving you any feedback, or even if they are giving you feedback but you're only looking at it once and then you're not revisiting it and practicing it, then what tends to happen is you make the same mistakes over and over and over again. If my speaking partner said, yesterday I go to the park and I didn't say anything, then next time I talk to him he's going to say, yeah, last week I go to the cinema, and he's just going to keep doing it. Again, this is fine if you're a beginner. If you're a beginner, you need to start speaking to people. You will make loads of mistakes and it's not really important because you need to just build confidence and get used to speaking. But once you are confident and you are used to speaking, then getting feedback and using that feedback to create a feedback loop with spaced repetition can be a really, really powerful tool in terms of creating progress for you. Thanks for watching that video. If you want to watch another one, click here. If you have any questions, put them in the comment section or on Twitter or somewhere like that, and I will answer them for you. Subscribe!